Hi, my name is Jayan Sharma and I am a wildlife photographer and an educator. So, Lightroom Classic has been a go to software for me for over 7 8 years now. And here's an update from Lightroom Classic, which is what they call version 12, and it's the October 2022 release or the update, and they call this the Lightroom 2023 update. So I just want to take a few minutes and explain what you can expect in this version of Lightroom. What's new? If you're already used to Lightroom, you'll enjoy these amazing new features. And if you are not yet a Lightroom user, you should find more and more reasons to embrace Lightroom. So let's dive in and see what those new updates are. So I'm on this page right now, which is what is Adobe's Help X document, which basically discusses the top features of Lightroom which have been modified or which have been enhancements to Lightroom application. And I want to take you through each one of them. But before we get into the software and explore some of the files, I want to discuss what they are. A lot of people used to use Photoshop for image retouching, manipulation, and stuff like that, digital art and stuff like that. But now, a lot of features of Photoshop, which were things which Lightroom never had, has been implemented, or in other words, has been given to Lightroom as amazing features. One of them is what Photoshop users used to love. It is called the content aware feature. And right now, Lightroom has the content aware remove, which has been added to the Lightroom spot removal tool. So what is content aware? We'll explore that in a bit. That's the first change or the modification, or let's say the enhancement or the addition to the Lightroom software. Number two is basically Lightroom added the masking feature about a year ago, 2021 October. They added the masking feature, and I must tell you, it was one of the game changer in the Lightroom applications additions, because it made people not go to Photoshop even more. They wanted to stay back in Lightroom and do this because masking was now a part of Lightroom itself. While it had masking features in 2021 October itself, like for example, sky selection and subject selection. Now, Lightroom has modified the masking feature by giving us three more interesting selection tools in the masking feature. You can now select the background, which is not just the sky, it could be any background. And how it does that is it uses artificial intelligence and selects the background by selecting or deselecting the focused area, which is what we call the foreground. Now, background selection, and secondly, object selection. Very interesting. I'll show you some examples of how object selection works. And also, people selection using masking. If there's a group of people, or if there are a group of people, you can actually select all the people. You can select people one, person two, person three, and add or make changes to that specific person itself. Now, selecting individual people in Lightroom is a breeze. It's so easy right now. Apart from that, there are some other regular updates like new camera features, or let's say new cameras and lenses that are now recognized by Lightroom, and it can read the raw files made of these cameras, and some other enhancement as well. I have made a list of things that I want to discuss, and the most important ones are what I just mentioned. So without further ado, let's dive in and see each one of them. And the first one being an update using the content aware tool in order to remove areas. So let's get into Lightroom right now. All right, so this is my Lightroom catalog. I have a few raw files that I have included in this catalog just because I wanted to discuss this without any clutter of other files. So the first feature I'd like to discuss is something which is a part of the spot removal tool. So how do we do that? Let's open this photograph, which is my Oriental dwarf kingfisher picture. I shot this, I think, on the 1st of August recently in an area closer to Mumbai, in an area called Panvel in the Karnala bird sanctuary. So now if you notice, this particular guy who sets up this kingfisher hide uses a small thread to bind the moss or the vegetation onto this particular stem. You can see this green thread here. It's basically a thread which has made this vegetation on the stick get attached like that. So he uses this kind of a thread here. Now, one of the things in Lightroom was we used to use the clone tool in order to clone areas from one area and patch it onto another. We also had the heal. If you haven't learned Lightroom, you may want to know the difference between clone and heal. There's a very big difference. I don't want to use this time to discuss that. Now, I have got into the develop module of Lightroom. As you can see, I have pressed the D character on the keyboard, or in other words, I can simply go to develop. I'm in the develop module right now here. So now let's see the whole picture here. I am interested in this area where, let's say I want to clone this out using the new content aware feature. So I'm just going to go ahead here. This is the spot removal tool in Lightroom. It's called the healing tool now. They've renamed it healing tool. Inside healing tool, you have the new additional tool, which is called the content aware remove. This is the new thing. These two were already there. One is basically called the clone stamp tool or the healing tool. These two are things which were already there in the last version of Lightroom, or in probably most versions of Lightroom. But this is the latest addition, which is basically what is called the content aware feature of Lightroom. So let's go ahead and select content aware. And what we can do right now is select an area here and simply click on that area. And what it does is it basically uses artificial intelligence to create a new version of that place by picking up areas from around and making sure it's very seamless. Now, this is the content aware feature where without you actually selecting a target area, use artificial intelligence to make sure Lightroom doesn't show the older pixels there. It in fact copies the pixels using intelligence, which was not the case in the past. We had to select a target area and a parent area and clone something from there. But now using content aware, you can change the size of the brush. For example, let's say this particular area here, I want to basically use content aware to patch something up. I'm just doing a quick job. This is not a great job, just to show you how this works like. And as soon as I get out of content aware and I say, okay, I'm done with this, and I close this using this panel here, you can see how those lines have gone away. So this is content aware. So again, just to rephrase, the difference between Lightroom's clone tool and content aware tool is in clone tool, you basically have to select an area and say patch this and clone it here. But in content aware tool, it uses artificial intelligence and it picks up pixels on its own, and it basically creates something like this. If you remember in Photoshop, we could create a background which had a patch and select that area and say content aware, and it would fill that with pixels which are similar to the rest of the pixels so that you don't feel like it's a patch at all. So welcome the content aware feature in Lightroom. So let's go back to my library and I want to see what's the new feature. In fact, one of the most important feature in Lightroom right now is the masking feature, which is a favorite for so many photographers. So let's discuss what are the new masking features in Lightroom. For that, let me open my portrait. It's a picture I shot, I think, in 2021 using A7R4. I'm actually holding a camera myself. Now let's look at what are the new features here. I'm going to develop module as usual, letter D, or select the develop from here. Now guys, in this picture, I am going to select the masking tool here. As soon as I select the masking tool, you'll notice a very interesting new interface here. It's asking me whether it wants to select the subject, it wants to select the sky, or it wants to select the background. Unfortunately, there's no sky here. If you select sky, it'll say I cannot find sky. So let's not even go there. But let's find the subject and the background. Now, one of the things we used to do in the past was we select the subject and make changes to it. But what about the background? That's the new feature in Lightroom right now, which helps us edit images by keeping the focused area untouched by selecting the background. So let's first make sure we work on the masking of the background. So I'll go ahead and let me remove the information here. I'll go ahead and select the background first. Let's see what Lightroom does. It uses artificial intelligence and it has marked the background on my photograph here. Now, the moment I select the background, you can see this red overlay on my picture. Let's hide this for a bit. I don't want that now. Just to show you, the red area is what is the masking. Now, what do I want to do in the masking of the background here? Maybe I want to underexpose. I want to change the colors. Anything you do to this picture right now in this panel will only work on the background and not on the pixels over me. So for example, gone are the days now when you want to select the background paper being very finicky. Now, all I need is a gray background and I need to expose a picture like this. And by selecting the masking of the background, let's say I want to make this an entirely blue or a purple background, which I didn't have a paper background. So I'm going to make that now on Photoshop, or I mean, in other words, Lightroom. So I'm just going to go ahead and change the colors. It's making the color change for the entire picture here. I'm just going to go ahead and select the masking area here. And in the masking area itself, I'm going to go ahead and make changes to the background. As you notice, this is a change which will only occur on this masking called the background. Now, let's say I want to change the saturation. I want to decrease the blue, or I want to increase the blue. I want to make it completely rich. Now, have you noticed how easy is it to select the background from the subject and make changes? Now, you can go ahead and play with the hue, make it a purple background or a green background, whatever you want, using the new masking tool, which is called the background tool. Now, if you go back to masking, I'll get this back here. There's a new mask created. You can actually go ahead and rename this mask, call it the BG mask. So the BG mask is something you can switch on and switch off to see how the background appears because you have masked it out now. You can go back to that mask and then you can continue making changes and you can continue making edits to the background and get the color you want. You can get as wacky as possible or keep it subtle and keep it classy and stuff like that. So I just want to go back a little to show the background that I edited. I like this blue a little. I'm just going to saturate this a little more and it gives the orange shirt a completely contrasting blue. I like this color and it's very easy now to select the background from the subject. So that's a quick job of masking and making changes to the background. Now, what's the second masking tool, guys? The second masking tool is something which is called as the object selection. Now, let's say I'm just going to make a snapshot here and call this snapshot 1, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete all the masks. I don't want the masks here. I'm going to delete this mask, so that delete all masks. I don't have any masks. Now, when you delete all the masks, you get this particular interface back. Now, here's where I can select object. So I have selected a new object. Now, this is a mask layer called objects layer. And now I can increase or decrease the size of this particular selection tool. Now see what I do very interestingly. I go ahead and I approximately paint the pixels on the area where the Sony Alpha 7 R4 is. So I'm going to select this area and simply paint approximately. I'm not actually going to do a hard fine selection of it. I've just done an approximate area and I leave my mouse. It uses artificial intelligence and it selects the area exactly what occupies the pixels of the camera. If you notice, I have not gone and done a fine-tuned job of selection and deselection. I just told, I need you to identify the object, and I drew an area, or I selected an area approximately where I think the camera exists, and the artificial intelligence of the software ensured it colored this area and showed that this is my new mask. And this mask, again, I can go ahead and rename it and call that, let's say, camera mask, and it would have this mask selected on the camera itself. There's a small typo. I'll just go ahead and change that. Camera mask. Now, what do we do with this? Let's say you want to brighten the camera only. You want to change the color temperature of the camera only, or you wanted to do whatever you want. I'm not going to teach you what you need to do to that right now because that's outside of the scope of this video, but this is just a tutorial for you to understand how the new object selection mask has been implemented. Maybe you want to emphasize the person and remove the emphasis from the object, so you may want to decrease the exposure on this. You don't want to show something more maybe. So this is the object selection. So again, all you need to do is go ahead and select a new mask, and that new mask should be of the type objects. That is very important. The moment you select objects, go ahead and select an approximate area where the camera is, and the software is going to select the pixels of that camera approximately. By selecting it, it will give you a precision selection area of the camera. Very, very cool. In fact, if you notice, just mouse over this area and see the selection. It has not selected my fingers and the skin. It has not selected my blazer in the background. It has only selected the camera, which is what it thinks is the object I am interested in. And it ensures it selects these, and now opens up a new panel here for us to select and make changes to this. Whatever you want with respect to colors, brightness, exposure, whites, shadows, highlights, it can be done to this and make changes to this particular area itself. Now, that's the object selection mask, which is a welcome addition to Lightroom. Now, let's go out of this picture back into my library. I want to show you another interesting feature of library, which is a selection of masking using people selection tool. Now I have a picture of a couple of friends here. In fact, they are a very regular Toehold patrons. One is Deb and Shaina, great friends of mine. Now let's do a quick edit of this photograph. I'm just going to brighten this photo a little, and let's say I don't want to do much because I shot it reasonably well. Now let's say we use the latest masking tool, which is people. As usual, I'm in the develop module. I go to the masking tool. In this, you'll see there are three different masking areas, but what's more important is it has artificially using its artificial intelligence, it has selected three people here. Person 1 is Shaina, person 2 is me, person 3 is Deb, and now these three people have been selected separately by Lightroom. I have done nothing. Using artificial intelligence, using its own capability, it has now selected Deb, it has now selected Shaina, it has now selected me as well. Now, the game here is, you want to make a selection of all, or you want to make a selection of, let's say all. Let's select all first. It's detecting all people and it creates a mask on all three of us. Now let's wait for that. Now the entire three people are selected. I can see some leakage here between Deb and the background. We'll figure that out later. But now you can either select this or you can cancel this, and I can just say I want to only brighten Shaina. Okay, she's a bright girl. I want to brighten her. I selected Shaina now, and it's not done, guys. In Shaina, I can select the face and the skin if I want. I can select the body skin if I want. I can select the eyebrows if I want. I can select the, what is this? Sclera. I don't know what is this called. Okay, it's the white area in the eye. It's a new word for me. Sclera. Okay, wonderful. Iris and pupil. You can get to such details. If you want to make her lips red, let's make her lips red just for fun, okay? So let's go to Shaina and we create a mask and make her lips red. Shaina, please, sorry, excuse me for that. So I'm going to saturate her color of the lips and maybe make it a little warmer and give her a lipstick. She doesn't wear too much of lipstick, I'm sure, but I am just going to take liberty and add lipstick to her if I want. So look at this. This is a mask which is absolutely fun to use. Again, let's go back to people selection. In people selection, now let's say I want to make Deb. In Deb, it's detecting all the features of Deb, and oh, I'm so sorry, Deb also got a lipstick which was not intended. So let's remove Deb's lipstick if we want to, or let's go ahead and select entire Deb. Okay, face skin. Let's make the face skin a little brighter, or let's say we want his rest of the body skin, like the arms and the neck and everything else. We created a new mask. Maybe we want to make Deb a little fairer, and so here's what we'll do. We go ahead and increase the brightness of Deb. We probably want to select the white balance. We change it. Whatever we want to do, guys. I hope you understand what I'm doing here. You can select finer areas in a photograph, not just based on what you want to select. You can also ask the camera to give information to Lightroom, where Lightroom uses its intelligence now and it makes changes. Why make fun of others? Let me make fun of myself. I'm going to select people here. In this case, I'm going to select person 2. In person 2, let me make some lipstick for myself as well. So where's my lipstick? Okay, lips. Okay, I'm just going to make my lips a little interesting. So I'm going to create a new mask here. So in this, I'm going to go ahead and maybe make my lips a little more saturated. It's very desaturated. Now I'm going to add a little bit of saturation. Let's make it a little warmer. So why not have pink lips? Guys also deserve to have pink lips. Okay, this is a small selection here. Now, this is what is the power of Lightroom's masking using people selection tool. This is fascinating, right? The possibilities are endless. I hope you guys enjoy doing this. So what else is there in Lightroom? So we have done objects, we have done background, we have done people, we have also done content aware. Now let's look at some new features in Lightroom, like for example, it's called adaptive portrait. So let's go ahead and select this beautiful picture of Shushmita that I photographed a couple of years ago, 2020 June 11. Now I'm just going to brighten this picture a little for the purpose of what I want to do here. So now let's say using Lightroom's presets, I'm going to go ahead and select a preset which is what is called the adaptive preset of the portrait, where we select the whiten the teeth. Did you understand it right? Yes, whiten the teeth. So let's go ahead and magnify her here. Now I want to whiten her teeth, and there is a slider here which allows us to increase or decrease the brightness of her teeth. So you can notice how the teeth is getting brighter or darker. You can make it more yellow if you don't like her. You can make it more whiter and sparkling and say, "Arey, oh Raju, tumhare daant aise chamak kaise rahe hain?" All that because Lightroom's adaptive portrait whitening the teeth was used on Raju. And here it is Shushmita, who is getting a great dentistry job here. She doesn't have to go to the dentist now. Beautiful white teeth, but just make sure you don't overexpose the whites in such a way that you'll have a problem. So this is the power of Lightroom now. There are a few more adaptive portrait filters here, which is basically presets, which enhances the portrait, which enhances eyes, which enhances the texture of the hair and stuff like that. I don't have the time to go ahead and show all of them. I would like you guys to explore and see what's there. These are some of the most important features of Lightroom. Now, a couple of UI changes have come in. So let's go ahead and select preferences. In preferences, you can see that you have this right-hand column with all the develop settings. You have this left-hand column with all things like snapshots, history, presets, and all of that. If you want, you can swap the left and right panels, and I'll swap it and I'll say close. It'll tell me that you will get this effect only when you restart Lightroom. You'll not get this right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this and close Lightroom. It's basically closed now. If I come back to Lightroom in a few seconds, Lightroom is going to load, and this time it's going to basically have the panels swapped between the left and the right. So my develop panel with all the treatments that I want to give to the picture is now on the left, and the presets and all the other things like the navigator and the snapshots and everything is back to the right side. This is, of course, some of the updates to Lightroom. Let's go ahead and see if there are any more features that I have missed here. In fact, they say that you can import using portable devices, using Windows computers quickly compared to the past right now. And also there are some more things here where if you import a photograph to Lightroom's catalog, it now automatically shows the parent folder, which was not the case. Let's go back to the library module. In the library module, if I imported a photograph, like for example, this photograph here, it is now showing the nested hierarchy of the folders all the way up to the root of that folder, because sometimes you can say August 1st, or you can say 2022, but in 2022 there is August, in another 2022 there is September. So you want to know the hierarchy of the folders. It automatically adds the parent folder here to show you. Otherwise, in the past, you would only see 01 here without knowing whether it was August or September or October. So it adds the automatic parent information here, it seems, to Lightroom's folder structure here. So what else is there? I think we have pretty much covered it all, apart from the fact that Lightroom has released capability to understand raw files of various cameras. But I'm sure most of the popular cameras from Sony, Canon, Nikon, Fuji, and also Panasonic have already been understood by Lightroom. Every time you have a new camera, you need to ensure Lightroom understands how to read the raw file by doing an update to your camera raw. Well, guys, that's what is some of the most important features that has been rolled out in the Lightroom 2023, which is Lightroom's October 2022 update. And I hope you like that. If you want to learn Lightroom, I don't think there are too many people who can help you understand Lightroom better than me. I'm not being complacent. It's just that I have so much of experience, and also experience of not just using Lightroom, but also training how to use Lightroom. And I'd look forward to teaching you how to use Lightroom. In case you want to learn photography from me, please get in touch with us at toehole.in, and I'll definitely help you enhance your photography and take you to the next level. So that's pretty much it, guys. I would be happy to take questions. Leave a comment here and let me know which feature amongst these would be a game changer for you. And if you think there's something that is missing, let me know so that I can also share this update with Adobe, and hope to see that update in the upcoming months. You take care, and hopefully you don't have too many reasons to go to Photoshop now. Lightroom is becoming more and more inclusive of all these techniques that were used in the past only in Photoshop. It's a part of Lightroom itself now. I have very, very little reason to get out of Lightroom right now. Take care.